All right.
Oh, hello.
How's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
All right, thank you. Long time no speak.
In podcast terms, yeah.
Yeah, although as far as the listeners are concerned, this is just like the week after the last one.
Yeah, for sure. So how long's it been since we recorded an episode?
Well, it must have been, I reckon, 3 weeks.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we put 3 in the bag, didn't we? So
Obviously, we have spoken since then, but not on the podcast.
no, and we've got our podcast selves are an alter ego. So this is the first time in 3 weeks that our alter egos have met and have spoken.
True. What's your podcast alter ego called? Jamie Rogan?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, let's go with that one, Jamie Rogan. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, so I don't actually know that many names.
Mine's James Bartlett.
Okay. What a podcast that would be. I assume those two have never been on the same show together at any point.
What, Joe Rogan and Stephen Bartlett?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, actually. Presumably not. Yeah, I'm not sure anyone would want to listen to that combination, to be fair.
Yeah, I've even got some herbal tea.
Oh, nice.
To like open, airways. I'm like doing a full routine here. I did a warm-up vocal thing as well.
What, like a la 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 la?
Exactly, yeah.
I've got a Pepsi Max, which actually is not a great thing to be drinking on a podcast because it makes me a bit airy, burpy.
A bit burpy, yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely couldn't. And when I thought about launching a podcast at one point, I kind of thought that you and I would drink beer whilst we're doing it. And it has that kind of chilled, laid back. Maybe when we're filming properly and not remotely, and we're sat on armchairs and we could be drinking beer. But the problem for that is that beer makes me really gassy.
Yeah. Also, that was before our bodies are temples, and now we barely drink and we're health gurus.
Well, yeah, I mean, true.
Right?
He says drinking his Pepsi Max. Anyway,
I'm not worried about carcinogenics. I'm only worried about calories.
I'm the
Hence
same.
Pepsi Max over the beer.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care about salt either.
No.
Like a whole, it doesn't matter to me. If the calories are good and means I can stay in my deficit, that's fine. I'll tackle anything else later on. Okay, what do you want to talk about in this episode?
Did we say we're doing automation first?
Yes.
Yes. We're doing automation, Jamie. Email
Okay.
automation specifically. It'd be weird
Okay.
not to do email automation.
Nice. And in case I want to cut that bit out because you forgot what the subject was, what do you want to talk about today, James?
Automation, Jamie.
There we go.
Email automation, to be precise.
Nice. Okay. Why do you love email automation?
Well, you've assumed that I love it. I guess I've probably confessed my love to you before. I do love email automation, and well, maybe love's a bit strong. I really like it. It's getting to love. I haven't used that word yet, but it's getting to love.
You've not said it to each other yet.
I've not said exactly.
Okay.
And the reason I really like it is because automation is easy and the rewards can be huge. And whenever there's a ratio like that, particularly in email marketing, we'll definitely take it. Email automation allows you to continue to be in touch with your subscribers even when you're asleep. It runs all the time for you in the background, and it can range from very, very simple, like a welcome email, to very, very complicated, where various triggers are being used to tailor messaging. But in both of those instances, regardless of simplicity, there's a huge amount of effectiveness. So email automation's great. What are your feelings towards automation, Jamie?
So we have said the I love you to each other.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. So yeah.
Did automation say it back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was we knew that we both wanted to say it. It was just who was going to say it first kind of situation. No, I do love automation. I love automation because of that phrase you used, whilst you sleep. I just think it's so powerful, and to set it up and get the triggers right, and in the next episode, we're going to talk about personalization, and automation plays a big role in that. But to set the trigger up for it to fire at really specific points in customer journeys, I think is super powerful. And in all of these kind of preliminary first episodes we're recording, we're covering like top level, very basic stuff for every element of email marketing, right? We've done that for a few so far.
Yeah.
And at some point in the future, we might do a whole episode on good welcome automation. We might do a whole series of episodes on a good welcome automation, because that's how nuanced and that's how much time and effort these things deserve because of how powerful they can be. But for the sake of like right now and keeping, what we're talking about very top level, I wanted to kind of paint two different pictures when it comes to automation. One being, if you're someone who has a small list and you might be running a newsletter, what could automation look like for you? And you've got nothing set up so far. So, you're working with pretty rudimentary tools. You're in the very beginning of your journey. Your email marketing efforts are probably at a 1 or a 10 or 1 or a 2 out of 10. And then I want to paint this other picture of, okay, you're a fully fledged e-commerce store or D2C brick and mortar business, and you have a more progressed CRM program, and you're using automation, but you're not sure if you're getting the most out of automation. I kind of want to have a look at both of those things. I didn't tell you that before this episode, but are you all right with that?
It's an ambush. No, that's a great idea. And I mean, do you want me to just crack on and offer some initial thoughts on maybe that first demographic?
Yeah, if you want. I mean, unless you had something different planned.
No. I
know you did your research.
No, I like that approach. No, my research was mostly focused on the personalization and accessibility episodes that are coming up, rather than the automation. So yes, I'm very happy to take that approach.
Yeah, I think just before you do that, I would say when James came to me and said that we need to talk more about accessibility, I kind of sighed and rolled my eyes. I'm like, okay, is it that important? But James kind of sold me on it. And, that episode that we're going to do on accessibility is well worth a listen, because it's not just about, you got to make your emails easy to read for people that are blind or whatever. It's actually important. One, from a moral standpoint, but two, as a business, you've got to make your emails accessible. And you're leaving money on the table if you don't. So stay tuned for that app. I'm kind of excited about it I'm like business excited about it. I'm not properly excited about it. It's not a 1 week all-inclusive trip to the Canary Islands, but it should be a good app.
You're business excited. Yeah, I'm also business excited about that episode. Money is being left on the table because of poor accessibility. So that is definitely an episode worth listening to. But yes, going back to automation. So I think one of the key things that I want to impress upon anyone listening is that automation is almost always worth your time, regardless of how big your list is. So last episode, we talked about segmentation. I think that was last episode.
Yeah.
And I made the point that actually, because of the additional resource that it takes to actually target the segments you're creating with bespoke comms, it may not be worth it if you have a small list to invest too much time in segmentation. For automation, it's very different, because you only have to make that effort once. You only have to create the automation once. And then, yes, just like a car, you might want to take it in for servicing every now and again to make sure it's still working and firing on all cylinders. But generally speaking, once you've done it and you've set it live, it will just keep going for as long as you allow it, and there shouldn't really be any problems. And so even if you have a small list, I would say at the very least, 2 automations that I want to introduce here. The first one I've already mentioned, which is a welcome automation. So this is the email or set of emails that you get sent immediately after you've joined an email list. So we'll all have received these before, where you sign up to a newsletter or you punch your email into a form because you want 10% off the store you're shopping at, and you get an email that says, welcome to the club, or whatever it might be, and it will probably give you a little bit of information about the company, and it will give you your discount code if that's what's been promised. And it will tell you what to expect from the newsletters. So that can be one singular email in its most basic form, or, there are welcome flows that are 20 emails long and they go on for months and months. So there's a whole range of possibility there. The second type of automation that I would recommend is a sunset flow. And a sunset flow is effectively a series of emails that go out automatically that target readers, subscribers who aren't engaged with our emails, in an effort to either win them back, or if that doesn't work, sunset them, i.e. unsubscribe them from the list. So every email list will have at least 25-30% of subscribers that just don't open their emails. And so with the sunset flow, we're saying, okay, for anyone who doesn't open any of my last 5 emails, they're going to get an email that says something like, are you still interested in hearing from us? And again, anyone listening to this will have no doubt received one of these emails before. Usually they'll ask you to complete some sort of action in that email, like click a link or something like that, to express that you are interested. And if you don't press that link, if you don't engage with the email, that automation will then unsubscribe that recipient from the list. So it's a really nice way of keeping your list clean and your data fresh in the background. And again, to use that phrase, whilst you sleep.
Nice. Okay. I paid attention for most of that. So just very quickly, because I think we already touched on this in a previous episode, and if we haven't, and we should do in the future. But just very quickly, why is keeping your list clean important? And, the sunset automation doing that for you, why is that such a good thing?
I'd say the biggest reason is deliverability. When we send emails, the more people that are opening and engaging with our email, the better sender reputation we get. And if we have large proportions of our list that aren't engaging with our emails, it doesn't look good. It doesn't make us look trustworthy. And that can have future impacts on which inbox we end up landing in. Is it promotions? Is it the primary? Do we go into spam? And so for deliverability reasons, as well as, I suppose, a sub-benefit is that often platforms will charge you based on how many people you're emailing. So you save money by cleaning your list more regularly. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear, but my dog is having a bit of a paddy downstairs. Someone will have walked past the front door or something like that. So
No
apologies
stress.
if that's coming through.
No worries. So if we think a little bit now, so if you're someone who has a small email list, you might be running a B2B company, you're sending a newsletter out and it's monthly. Those 2 automations are for those people as a kind of a, if you want to get started and have the basic things in, right?
Just unmuting to hopefully she'll settle down in a second.
No,
yes, exactly. So those automations, the most complex businesses with incredibly advanced CRM and hundreds of thousands of contacts will also have those automations running, or certainly should have. So they aren't the reserve of the beginner, but they are excellent entry points for the beginner. And as I said earlier, set these up regardless. It doesn't matter whether you've only got 20 people on your list. Set them up regardless, because they will still start to serve a purpose. And as you grow, they'll become more and more helpful.
Nice. Do you need a dog break? Are you good?
I think I'm okay. She seems to have settled. Maybe it's the postman.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. No worries. Okay. So we've covered how to kind of get started in automation. We covered, those 2 super important ones. And, you've just said there, if someone is running a really advanced CRM program or system, then, having those 2 automations is important for those guys as well. So should I talk a little bit about the other picture that we wanted to paint about this business that has a more complex system?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Nice. Okay, so we'll do a whistle-stop tour of this, or at least I will, and if I miss anything, you can tell me. So let's imagine that the business we're talking about now is D2C or B2C. Typically traffic is higher for those kind of companies, and the suite of automations that are readily kind of available, or at least that they should have in terms of what is fundamental, is more comprehensive than what we've just spoken about. And it all starts with customer journey mapping. And so we think about the journey that someone takes with us from the moment, there's pre-email customer journey, which we won't talk about here, but the moment someone joins our email list, either by having signed up to our marketing comms or having made a purchase, starting from there until, a never-ending cycle, basically, until they either unsubscribe or presumably die. Email's job at that point is from when they enter that journey with us on email. Email's job is to kind of continually kind of nurture those people, and it's all about lifetime value. It's about retention. It's about loyalty, etc. And so we kind of enter this journey, and then they go around in a circle with us until they unsubscribe or die. And so
that's a great name for a podcast.
Unsubscribe or die. Yeah, it sends the wrong signals, I think.
It does. Maybe subscribe or die.
Subscribe or die. It sounds more like a threat. So 5-star this podcast or die. Maybe we should rename it. So what are some of the automations and what a business like this can have? And for those of you that are running a very successful e-com store, some of these things will sound very basic. And to you, you've probably got the full suite of these, or you might be missing one or two. But based on the dozens of e-com stores that we've been behind the scenes with, what we've seen is that most stores should have a welcome automation. They should have a post-purchase automation. They should have an abandoned basket automation, abandoned checkout automation, and then potentially an abandoned browse automation as well. Those should be fairly self-explanatory as to what they are. And then thinking about sunset, we already spoke on, so re-engaging unengaged people and cleaning your list. A win-back automation, so someone who has purchased and has stopped purchasing. And then we might also want to think about specific upsell and cross-sell automations if we're not already doing that within the ones that I've mentioned already. Those are the fundamental ones as far as I see, unless you think I missed any there, James, off the top of my head.
No, I think you've nailed it.
Yeah, thank you. So those are the kind of automations that you expect a bigger business that's got more traffic and is consumer facing to have. And so if you think about all of those ones that I mentioned, we can then plot those against that customer journey map that I was talking about at the start there. What are those key points? So welcoming someone who hasn't purchased yet. So someone who has signed up but hasn't made a purchase, they get an automation for that, and there's a trigger available for us. Post-purchase, that's another key point. Someone's just made their first purchase with us, or, however many purchases they've had. Going beyond an order confirmation, what comms do they need to get after that? Asking for reviews, cross-selling and upselling, those kind of things. I mentioned those abandonment automations as well. So another key point in the customer journey, why did they take their shopping experience so far and then stop? Win back, someone who's purchased from us but not repurchased, another kind of point in the customer journey. And then someone who's become unengaged, and we want to re-engage them or unsubscribe them. So these are all key parts, and we can kind of imagine the customer's relationship with us like a real life relationship. So if I was to have an automation program for the relationship that I have with my wife, I might have had an automation that fired off when we first met as a welcome automation. I might have had one fire off when I proposed to her. After we got married, that could have been like a post-purchase one.
And they say romance is dead.
Yeah, exactly. should have seen the segmentation I did to get to the point where I did with my wife. And so we can think about all of these key points that a customer has with us in that journey, and that these automations can fire off based on data that we're gathering, behavior that we're observing. And it means that we can reach those people at a time and a place that is more relevant for them, will resonate with them. And so that's what it looks like for a kind of a more complete or a more comprehensive CRM program.
Yeah, and the thing is, customers love this stuff. This isn't annoying for them, because they want to be hit at these important moments, these important points of contact with your brand. And so sometimes there's some cynicism around creating automations, particularly those that are triggered by things like abandoned browse, where I've heard store owners say, "Oh, but is it a bit invasive or like a bit creepy? Like we're sort of keeping tabs on like what they're looking at." And the answer is no, because ordinarily when someone has abandoned browse, it's because they've been distracted by something. Remember, these automations only work if we already have their data. If it's some random person on incognito mode coming to browse your website, they're not going to receive an email from you when they leave your website, because they haven't given you their email to begin with. So there's already an implicit amount of interest that this person receiving these automations will have expressed in your brand. So very, very rarely are you pissing people off. And rest assured, if they are pissed off by your email, they're probably not going to be your ideal customer in any case. Generally speaking, customers really like this kind of automation. It is a form of personalization, and we will talk about that in a lot more depth next episode. But personalization is not just your first name or your t-shirt size. It is getting you at certain points in your customer journey, and the timing is everything, and that's definitely a form of personalization. And as we'll talk about next episode, prospective customers tend to respond really, really well to personalization.
Yeah, exactly. Is that what you're doing when you're switching on incognito mode, by the way? You're shopping?
I'm shopping undercover.
Undercover, okay.
I also take out my SIM card from my phone. Wrap it in tin foil just in case.
Okay, good. Less said about your incognito mode.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, there was I remember there was an advert. I can't remember if it was Google. I can't remember which internet, which browser it was. There was an advert, and there was a bloke on incognito mode, and he was keeping it secret from his girlfriend what he was browsing in incognito mode. That was the tone of the advert. But what he was doing was searching for engagement rings. So he was, it's like, you can browse away and rest assured she won't find out what you've been looking at. And so there was like this subversive undertone. It's like, okay, are we talking about engagement rings here, or what's going on? Anyway,
different type of ring.
Yeah.
That one won't make the final cut.
Well, I don't edit them to that degree, so it has to be in the final cut, along with the dog bark. There's no...
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah, I very rarely take anything out, so that's...
Noted for next time.
That's in stone.
Classic.
Sorry, mate. Okay, so where were we before we were talking about rings?
So I was talking about how audiences love automation, by and large. And obviously there are, even on a very basic level, there are clear benefits to receiving a welcome email, for example, particularly if you have promised something. And we would always encourage, generally speaking, we would always encourage you to make a promise when you're asking people to sign up to your newsletter, whether that is you're going to get X amount of value or you're going to get 10% off, whatever it could be. And so one of the best ways to reaffirm that you're the sort of brand that's going to keep that promise is a welcome email. There's nothing like the instant gratification of immediately getting the thing that you signed up for and not having to wait a week or a month or the next time you send an email. So even on a very basic level, there is a subscriber experience note here, which even if it doesn't necessarily serve you from a financial perspective, just does a huge amount for your brand. If you're sending a really nice, warm, welcome email straight away, already a relationship's been established. And we've probably said this on this podcast before, Jamie, but just in case, your welcome email will almost certainly be the most read email you ever send someone. Your campaigns will do well, and some automations might also do well, but the welcome email is the most important email you will send. It is the one that people will open the most. And so if you can make a really good first impression, that's gold.
Yeah, nice. And it'll be a high earner as well if you're running a e-commerce store. So super important. There's something to be said there. If someone's expecting an email from you, you should always send it. And welcome automation is probably one of the only times that's true. And so 100%, people don't get pissed off. People like automation. I think people prefer automation. There's nothing, people get so smug if they've received an email that they think they've had an error, even the smuggest ones reply like, "Oh, was I meant to receive this? Question mark, question mark." Or, something's not working, or, so I think things that are triggered properly, and are super relevant, people enjoy those types of emails more. And, I use the word enjoy, in a relative sense. They business enjoy, email in that sense. And what we do have to be careful of with automation, so if there's a word of warning that I had here about automation, is that by setting it, the more we set up of these things, and then we couple with the automations that we're setting up with the campaigns, the manual emails that we're sending, we start to run the risk of these things overlapping and overwhelming subscribers. So we have to be careful about that. Thankfully, these platforms, they often have smart sending settings that you can use, which means that if someone is going through an automation, we've used several different words to describe automation, by the way. Automations like the catch-all phrase, Klaviyo calls them flows, MailChimp calls them journeys. When someone's going through one of these automations, we want that to take precedent over the campaign to sending in most cases, because they're going through that automation because they're at a key point of the customer journey, and that automation should be set to give them the most value and give them the highest chance of converting. Otherwise, that automation needs to be looked at, because that we've identified that's what that gives us the best chance to convert that customer. So if someone's going through that, we want to make sure they're not also receiving our campaigns as well, so that we're not overwhelming them. There are exceptions to that. There always are, but I would say prioritize these automations over your manual campaigns.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. It's as you said when you were introducing the more complex automations, it starts with the customer journey. So yes, I agree. Jamie, I feel as though, well, it's 28 minutes to be fair. Damn it, I thought we were at like 19 minutes or something. I was going to say, I feel like we've got the basics of automations pretty well covered.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Yeah, I feel okay with that. We need to do a hot take.
We do. Damn, the hot take always gets me.
Yeah. I think I've got one, which isn't that much of a hot take. I really feel like we need to rename hot take, especially in these early episodes, because we're just giving kind of, I think we mentioned this before, like tepid takes.
Yeah. Yeah, lukewarm.
Yeah. So, mine would be map the customer journey as the first thing that you do, and then you can use that customer journey map to plan your automations.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, because there are businesses that are slightly different that will have certain nuances. If you're running a restaurant chain, there'll be certain nuances in the customer journey that's different to if you're running, a dog food e-commerce website. If you're running a subscription-based business, there'll be certain nuances in that, in terms of keeping people subscribed, winning back lapsed subscribers, keeping them engaged and loving the product. So I think one thing we didn't talk about here, but maybe later on in a different episode we can talk about, is how all of these different nuances means that you can create variations of all of those automations that I said. You know, if someone signs up to emails from a restaurant chain and they're a vegan, they might get a completely different version of the welcome automation than if someone who's not a vegan.
Yes.
For instance. But anyway, I've waffled there. Was that enough waffling for you to come up with your hot take?
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
Good.
You
Okay.
you brought me. It's like when you're ordering at a restaurant and you don't know, so you ask the person before you to go.
Yeah.
And then like sometimes, if you're ever in that situation, here's a lovely move. Just like take ages like saying the words. Like, I'll have the slow cooked ribs, please. You know, really, that's just like a little life hack.
Haven't you already chosen what you're having by the time you start saying that?
No, but I'm saying to buy the other person time who's still deciding. Like, if you're just like slow cooked ribs, then it's like you've barely bought them any time. So like ask questions, be like, does this come with blah, blah, blah? Like really, even if you know the answers, just buy that person as much time as you possibly can. I feel like that's what you were just doing with that hot take.
Yeah, I was. I'll do it even slower next time for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, screw podcast engagement, and listening at 1.2 speed and making it engaging. I'll just talk slowly to buy you more time.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually have a new pet peeve which has started to irritate me recently. People ordering things. Sorry,
is it me?
No, it's not. And unless you did this thing, then it would be you.
Go on.
It's people ordering things in restaurants or coffee shops, and asking the waiter or the server, what I'll have, what you recommend.
Okay.
That's a pet peeve of mine because it's just, I don't know. I feel like if I was the waiter or the server, I'm like, well, surely just fucking choose a drink. Like,
just pick the most expensive thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah.
I'd never ask that question because I feel like people would just by default be like, oh, there's this really nice special we've got on. It's £16.
Yeah.
And it's
you're
like a shot.
You're frugal though, aren't you?
Yeah, well, true. I am famously so.
Polite word for it.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, my hot take. I actually think this is maybe not quite hot, but it's definitely warmer than some that we've had on this pod. Mine is going to be if you're starting out with email, write your welcome email before you write any campaign. Before you even start a campaign, see it in the same way that you might see a subject line in an email relationship, where sometimes it's better to write the email first and then the subject line will follow. I think in the same regard, writing the welcome email first not only is the welcome email setting the tone for your subscribers, but it will set the tone for you as well, and it will help you to write campaigns better.
Nice. Can I add another hot take? We've never done this before, but want to add
I mean, this goes against all convention, but yes.
And we're already at like 33 minutes. So just another quick hot take. Never set and forget your automations either. You've got to go back and think, well, is that welcome automation that I wrote a few months ago, is it even still relevant? Is it as good as it could be? Don't just tick that box and forget about it. Always go back and optimize. We didn't talk about A/B testing, but A/B testing in every element of email marketing, including automations, is super important. Yeah,
if your list is a certain size, I'd hasten to add. But yes, definitely optimizing it and making sure, as you say, Jamie, like if you're including a discount code for Black Friday, you better make sure you change it after Black Friday, otherwise you're going to look like a dunce.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. So we covered automation. Usually when we, at the end of an episode, there's like a little bit at the end where we're still like bantering and
the music starts.
And there's the music starts and stuff like that. But we proliferated the hot take session with banner. So there's no room for that now. So now I'm just talking so the music has some chance to like play.
All right.
So this is the outro. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.